as a winner, I'm sure that you know more than enough.
Difficult or not, I would say it is difficult.
It can be frustrating sometimes.
So I didn't expect this at all, and this question really made me a bit puzzled.
I think essays is the most important part, right?
I had emotional breakdowns. Swansea University, I think, was the best university that offered me the best program.
It's not only about plagiarism.
I will never experience the real British culture.
I know that you finally moved to Great Britain.
Be resilient and patient.
Recently, I have decided to have new types of videos where I talk with people who won different type of scholarships and have experience of living abroad. Within this video, I will talk with Miss Julia, who won Chevening Scholarship, which is very competitive, and graduated from a university in Great Britain. Julia, thank you so much for coming to this interview. We really appreciate it, me and my subscribers. Can you please tell us shortly about your experience, overall experience with Chevening? And then we will have several specific questions about steps, about essays that are very important, right? And the last thing about interview. And maybe in the end, you will share about tricks and tips that you used to win this scholarship. Please.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really love to share my experience with your audience. But first thing which I really want to share is that when I applied for Chevening, I was very uncertain in myself. I was always thinking that this type of scholarships like Chevening, Fulbright and many others are not for people like me. They should be very special, and who am I to be special, you know? But I remember the day when my professor told me that you have to acquire a degree which will be recognized entirely in the entire world. I thought like, yes, this is like the moment when I have to maybe try my powers. And I opened the official website of Chevening. I read everything, and something inside my inner voice, I think, told me, do it, really do it. And I took a very serious decision. Yeah, I decided to risk. And it was a really fantastic journey. Of course, if you ask me if is it difficult or not, I would say it is difficult. But you know, the prize, victory is really worth it for all the entire path that you are going through. It's really worth it.
Yes, great. And when was it? Which year?
So I applied for Chevening in 2018. I was 22 years old. I was very uncertain. I just accomplished my first year of work after my graduation, and I was still learning about working life after the studies. But I think deep inside I always dreamt to have international academic experience, and being in Moldova, and for me, from my family, it was pretty hard to afford it because quality education is not cheap, and people like me can only aspire for a scholarship. This was the only way how I could win and fulfill this academic dream, and I'm happy that Chevening really helped me to do it. So yeah, 22 years old, and I think I was competing with people who were more experienced than me. Chevening doesn't choose you by the age. I think they choose you for some other very important qualities, and everyone can demonstrate them, but you have to know how.
Yes, and then you will tell us how. Sure. Yes. Sure. Before we go to that step, maybe I would ask you to share the main steps and the application process in general. You can tell also about eligibility of the scholarship, because as we know, each scholarship has its own requirements, right? And as a winner, I'm sure that you know more than enough about these things.
First thing which I would like to mention about Chevening process, that it takes you around a year to get through all the stages. So be resilient and patient. This is my advice. Usually applications start at the end of August and ends at the end of October. So they give you 2 months window or 3 months, depending, because sometimes they extend the deadline to apply your essays. Then I think around December you will get first email saying that your essays pass eligibility criteria or not. Here they mean that if your essay passed the plagiarism check, because yeah, people like to copy, but Chevening searching for something very genuine. I think in January you can receive a message or about submitting your reference letter. So your reference, they will get a mail about this and they have to submit it. And I think in February you should get, if you're successful, of course, you should get an invitation to the embassy interview. In April, March, depending from their schedule, you will be invited to the interview. And I think in June, first people, they will get also their emails, but we have to mention as well, there is a reserve list as well. So sometimes you can get your decision at the end of July. This was my case. When I got my email in June that I got into this reserve list, I waited for 2 months to get my final results. Chevening application process and the university application process are also two parallel processes. You have to submit for Chevening, but also you have to submit separately for your universities. And depending what university you want to study, you have to look at their deadlines when you have to submit your package of documents. It's very flexible, depends, but when you know all these dates, you really become very organized and you plan your steps. So nothing hard in here. You just have to prioritize your schedule. You have to realize what things are important for you, which are not important for you. For me, because I found out about the scholarship around May, I have enough time to research about the scholarship before the opening. I have enough time to submit my essays and to work on them. In a parallel, I started to prepare for my TOEFL exam, which you have to have anyway, so TOEFL or IELTS, doesn't matter, or any other international English exam, but I scheduled like that. So I want to do Chevening, I want to prepare for my English exam, and then only after I will get my English exams, I will apply for the universities, because Chevening allows you to submit your unconditional letter through the entire process, through that year, only when you have your decision already, when you have their decision actually, they give you a certain deadline when you have to submit your conditional letter, because after that Chevening get in touch with your university and they will pay everything for you. So you will need just only after apply for your visa and that's all.
Okay. And maybe I will ask also about reference letter. What should it be? How many of them should be there? And what did you do in this case?
It's different every year. Sometimes they ask you to submit 2 letters, one professional, one academic. You even can do it together. For example, in my case, my professor, she could ask additional things which I would like to include. This is a little tip, because sometimes people have never done this, and for them it's a very new process. You can guide them and say, you have to include my achievements during my studies or during my work. You also ask about eligibility, what eligible criteria are for the Chevening applicants. So the most important, I think, you have to have your bachelor degree, first of all, because you're applying for a master. You also have to have at least 2 years of working experience. And here I would like to note that when I was applying, I had only 1 full-time year of working experience. But because I have volunteered a lot during my university time, I had lots of extracurricular activities. I was able to accumulate these hours for the scholarship, because on their application portal you will see a special calculator which counts your hours, which is very comfortable as well. So don't be discouraged if you don't have like 2 years of full-time experience. If you have volunteering experience, add it. The more the merrier, it's better.
So let's go to the next part about essays. I think essays is the most important part, right? Because you have to write 4 essays, as I know. Tell me, please, how could you do it? And what did you do to catch the attention of the committee, right? Because as you have mentioned, it's not only about plagiarism, but also about the content, right? What you are writing in your essays.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Chevening essays play a crucial role in this application, because they are those things which make the first impression about who you are in this contest. You were right saying that applicants have to write 4 essays. First essay is about leadership, second one is about networking, third one is about culture and studies, and third one is about your career plan after studies. Let's get back to the first one. So when Chevening asks you about your leadership potential, they don't ask you to represent yourself like a political leader. Of course, this is also qualifies, but mostly leadership for them means that you're a person who can take the responsibility. You're a person who can have a strategy to resolve a particular problem, and you have a result at the end. My advice for this essay and for any of others essay, use the STAR approach: situation, task, approach, result. This will help you to structure better your idea, because you will see the beginning of it and the ending of it, and you will have a tangible result. In order to acquire a tangible result, it's always recommended to use numbers, percentages. I know that sometimes it's really hard to maybe measure everything, but you can estimate from your memory, from what you have seen and heard, from the feedback of people. In order to catch the attention of the committee, you have to really write in a format of the story. It's always better like that, because stories are always attractive, and people like stories. And it's recommended to have a very strong introduction, which the first sentence, which can introduce the reader in your story, in your particular message that you want to send to the committee. You have only 500 words, so the advice will be to select carefully your examples. You better select the most strongest one, but you make them to look sometimes even better. And this is really a recommendation from everyone. Try to use strong vocabulary, strong active verbs. Try to use synonyms. Not only I have decided, for example, but you said that I took a hard decision, but I realized that I didn't this and this. This is like small examples. Like, don't be afraid to brag, maybe to sell yourself and to be proud of what you're doing. Sometimes people who are doing a lot, they don't appreciate themselves and they do think they are not doing enough, but in fact they are doing a lot of things. This is leadership one. So you are showing how you're solving your problems using your character, your mind, and your will as well. The second essay is about networking, is about how your network helps you to reach your goals in solving particular problems. So here, really, Chevening wants to see how you create these connections, which help you to achieve what you really want. And you also can mention at the end that if you win the Chevening Scholarship, this will help you to boost your networking, to achieve even more at the end. So I would suggest that at the end of each essay to say what will be the benefit of Chevening for you, but in particular context of the essay that you are writing. So it should maybe be the same idea, but with some variations. So this is about networking. It's about how you create networks and they help you. The third one is about education in the UK and why you want to study in this country. There is no secret that one of the best education is in the UK, but you should mention this using, again, different vocabulary, different phrasing. And here as well, you have to mention the universities where you want to study. And Chevening allows you to present 3 choices of universities, and the recommendation will be to apply for each of them, because some universities can give you a conditional letter very quickly, some can do it like in 6 months, depending. But if you secure at least one unconditional letter, it's already great success, because you compete not only for scholarship, but also sometimes for the places in the university, because they have limited numbers of people for a particular course. So here, the recommendation will be to research carefully the course that you want to study, the location what you're going to live in. Usually people select London, but I would suggest maybe to look for other universities, maybe for universities which are not in the Ivy League, because sometimes universities which have maybe less high rank can deliver you a better student and academic experience. And this was my case. I decided to choose universities from 3 regions of the UK: England, Scotland, and Wales. From England, I selected Manchester Metropolitan. From Scotland, it was Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh. and Swansea University in Wales, in Swansea. And frankly speaking, Swansea University, I think, was the best university that offered me the best program at that moment that I really needed, because I was looking for something practical. I started my career in public relations and I had some practical experience, but I didn't have this academical experience. I didn't know how to create strategies, how to create video production, for example, or graphical designs. So I needed something which will give me some, hard skills, which I will be able to apply after my job. And, Swansea University wasn't my first choice, but this was the university that gave me the unconditional letter, and I decided that I will go with these universities because when I got their unconditional letter, I was already preparing myself for the interview. So I wanted to honestly to use this hook at the interview, saying that I already have a unconditional letter, and etc. etc. In this essay is also recommended to say why you want to study in these unis. Maybe you like the professors, maybe you like the program, maybe you, will receive something special which other university can't give you. So the more specific you are, it's better for you. And of course, if you can mention a cultural aspect, this is also great. For example, I mentioned that why I want to study in England, and I specified the moments which attracted me. Maybe for some people it could be the connectivity to airports, because you can fly to Europe for someone, yes. For me, in Wales, I said that I never learned anything about Wales and would love to know more about Wales and about their culture. Scotland has its other beautiful specifics. So it should be something which is coming from you, which is not coming from internet, and we all know this information, right?
So you have to do thorough research.
Yes. And the last essay is your career plan. Chevening just wants to know that you're a person who can plan your steps after the graduation. It's not a secret that 1 year can change your entire life, and maybe at the beginning of you have one particular things in your head, but after you graduate and you finish your studies, you will understand that life completely changed, and maybe things which were important for you are not important anymore for you. So the idea here is to show that you are a person who can plan the steps, to show that you have a plan. And again, the rule is to be very specific, to write step-by-step guide of your actions. And I think this is the most important essay in this situation. The content, I would say like that.
Great. Okay. So I think if I decide to apply, I have a lot of tips already, but I don't need it yet.
Yeah. And another recommendation will be that if you write your essays, do not be afraid to give them to read to other people who can be more objective to you. So it's better always to give to someone else to read, and they can add additional information about you. I think I have at least 5 drafts of my essay. I really wanted to win the scholarship, and I felt like this is my time and I'm ready for this. I have grown enough, and I took it really seriously. And I think one of the successes of those who win Chevening is that they do this thing very thoroughly. They dedicate themselves to this, and they have a tunnel thinking, tunnel focus, let's say it like that. And they really prioritize carefully in their life when they apply for Chevening. Yes. This is true.
Yes, you need a whole 1 year, right? We will talk about it also in the end. We came to the interview point, right? So you have mentioned when you should go, and tell me please, what should you do to nail this interview?
Perfect. I like this part very much. Interview for Chevening really looks very similar to interview for a company when you have a job interview. In this interview, you will have a chance to say a bit more about your leadership, networking, and career aspirations. While in comparison to your essay, so you will have a bit more opportunity to expand your ideas and thoughts and maybe bring something additional. My advice will be here: if English is not your native language, rehearse in advance. Write your answers down. For example, when you were going to speak about your leadership, already train yourself to say particular phrases, because this type of interviews you can become very emotional, and you better have something which is sticking already in your head and you just bring it out. But if you are puzzled and you are not prepared, now imagine how this will look at the interview panel. Be very active, gesticulate, don't be afraid to smile. Of course, Chevening interview is not a thing which will calm you down. You will feel a little bit of stress, but if you're prepared in advance, you will be okay. Usually this interview, as I said, looks like a job interview. They will ask you questions regarding your behavior at this particular problems. They can ask you some specific questions. For example, I remember one girl told me that who applied for management, and she told me that they asked me, but what management means to you, for example. So they will try to ask you something special, important for you. Of course, because I didn't have much of leadership experience, I tried to make my examples very strong. I tried to show that they had a really great impact, and I tried to show that I'm the person who is not afraid of challenges. This is also a recommendation. So it's usually like a behavioral interview. So prepare in advance, rehearse. You can also maybe record your answers and to see how you sound, because sometimes when we are nervous, our voices can go down or up. So you can maybe prepare yourself in advance and make yourself aware of things which can maybe make your interview super cool or super worse. You have opportunity really to present your personality, your character. So don't be shy again. You can make some jokes. This is also always very welcomed. You can also place a very good question at hand to make this interview memorable for them. For me, the hardest question was not about my leadership or networking, but the hardest was about my career plan after 1 year. So I didn't expect this at all, and this question really made me a bit puzzled, because I really didn't thought what I'm going to do after 1 year, because at that time I didn't know that this experience will change me, and I couldn't envision that this would really happen to me. But again, if this type of questions appear in your mind, feel your gut feeling, because still you will have some answers to say. And they also asked me why I don't want to go to London to study, because usually people prefer to go to London because it's the capital. I said to them that I think that London is a capital for the entire world, but if I will live there, I will never experience the real British culture. And I think they really liked my answer because it was unusual, it was very unique. So I would suggest to give such answers. Or for example, when I said them why I want to go to Swansea, I said to them, we never studied about Wales in our schools, but I want to discover the mysterious culture of Wales. And I love daffodils because daffodil is a national flower of Wales. And I like dragons. And dragon is a symbol of Wales. So you have to bring something very special about your decision why you specifically choose these places. Yeah, it's just about you in this interview, but you have to prepare yourself. You will pass through this experience very quickly, because usually the interview lasts around 20-30 minutes.
Okay, great. So I think it's clear now, the steps and how it will happen. The whole process quite long, right? It's 1 year. It can be tiring. It can be frustrating sometimes, right? And you can be very stressed. What did help you to stay motivated to continue this journey and to finally reach your destination, right? Please share your tips.
Yeah, thank you for this question as well. As I said earlier, I won't lie saying that this is easy. It's not easy. I had emotional breakdowns because for me, I have set it a very big goal. And I think this goal made me to grow during this entire year, because for the first time I started to plan things. I started to schedule my time, and I started to understand what are my priorities. At that time, I really wanted a very big change. I think this really motivated me because I was tired of some things in my life, and I really wanted to discover myself in other environment, because when you go abroad, you really discover yourself. You maybe sometimes see that you're a very strong person and you never believed in this. So I think the desire to change kept me very motivated. My advice will be for everyone who wants to apply: do your homework, research. don't ask silly questions, because I found a lot of information on one Facebook group for all Chevening applicants. There are people who are so lazy. They didn't invested enough time in this. So my advice will be really research well your universities. Research very well the program, the stages, because the better you know, the better you are prepared. I remember the day when, the day before I got my final decision that I'm accepted for Chevening, I was already thinking that in case of failure, I will reapply again, because I already know the process. I know my mistakes, and I know what to do better. So don't be discouraged. I know people who applied for 3 or 4 times and they were successful only at 5th attempt, because maybe they didn't know the rules, how to present themselves. Because you honestly, you have to sell yourself, you have to overcome your shyness, you have to observe that you are doing great things and people receive a lot of value from you. So this is the idea of Chevening, to show the value of yourself. What I like about Chevening, that we are very, very strict with the rules. If you have a deadline, please respect the deadline. If you didn't manage, sorry, it's your problem. You will never regret. Those who apply for Chevening, who win the Chevening, are really people who after that realize that they're special. They are those special people who they never thought that they are.
So cool. Thank you so much. It was really interesting to listen to your story, to your experience, and I really hope that we will see you in our next episodes of such interviews, because I know that you finally moved to Great Britain, right? And you're working and living there, so it will be great maybe if you can share in the future with our subscribers how is it to live in Great Britain and how is it to work in Great Britain. So
pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much, and see you in next episodes.
Thank you all.
If you enjoy this type of videos, please subscribe to the channel, because other videos are coming, and thank you for watching. See you in my next videos.